August 8th, 1899, Volume 2. A Resigned Soul is Jesus' Rest. He continues to make himself seen for just a little, and almost angry with men. As much as I prayed him to pour his bitternesses into me, it was impossible, and without paying attention to what I was saying to him, he told me, "Resignation absorbs all that can be painful and disgusting to one's nature, and renders it sweet. And since my being is peaceful and tranquil, in such a way that no matter what may happen in heaven and on earth, it cannot receive the slightest breath of disturbance, resignation has the virtue of grafting these very virtues of mine into the soul. A resigned soul is always at rest, and not only herself, but she also allows me to rest peacefully within her." August 8th, 1904, Volume 6. The soul must look for Jesus within herself, not outside. Everything must be enclosed in one word: love. One who loves Jesus is another Jesus. While I continued struggling, my adorable Jesus came for just a little, but even though I felt him near me, I would try to grab him, and he would escape me, almost preventing me from going outside of myself to go in search of him. Then, after I struggled very much, he made himself seen for just a little and told me, "My daughter, do not look for me outside of yourself, but within yourself, in the depth of your soul, because if you go outside and do not find me, you will suffer very much and will not be able to endure. If you can find me more easily, why do you want to struggle more?" And it is because I believe that not finding you immediately within myself, I can find you outside. It is love that pushes me to this. And it is love that pushes you to this? Everything should be enclosed in one single word: love. If the soul does not enclose everything in this, it can be said that she does not know a thing about loving me. And according to how much the soul loves me, so do I expand the gift of suffering. And I, interrupting him, all surprised and afflicted, said, "My life, and my whole good. So since I suffer little or nothing, I love you little or not at all? What fright, the mere thought that I do not love you! My soul feels a sharp disappointment, and I even almost feel offended by you." And he added, "I do not intend to disappoint you. Your disappointment would press on my heart more than on your own. And besides, you must not look at the mere corporal sufferings, but also at the spiritual, and at the true will you have to suffer. Because if the soul truly wants to suffer, for me it is as if the soul had suffered. Therefore calm yourself and do not be troubled, and let me continue speaking. Haven't you ever seen two intimate friends? Oh, how they try to imitate each other, and to reproduce the other within themselves. They imitate the voice, the manners, the steps, the works, the clothes, in such a way that the friend can say, 'The one who loves me is another me, and since he is me, I cannot help loving him.' So I do with the soul who encloses all of me within herself, as though within a small circle of love. I feel as though reproduced within her, and finding myself, I love her with all my heart, and I cannot do without being with her, because if I leave her, I would leave myself." While saying this, he disappeared. August 8th, 1906, Volume 7. How it is necessary to run without ever stopping. This morning, blessed Jesus came for just a little, and since I was all tired because of his privation, he told me, "My daughter, in order for the soul to reach her central point, it is necessary that she run always, without ever stopping, because by running, her path will become smoother. And as she keeps going, the point which she must reach in order to find her center will be manifested to her. And along the way, the grace which is necessary to her journey will be administered to her in such a way that, helped by grace, she will not feel the weight of her toiling or of life. All the opposite for one who walks and stops. In fact, just by stopping, she will feel the tiredness of those steps which she has already taken, and will lose stamina for the journey. By not walking, she will not be able to see her point, which is a good most high, and will not be attracted to it. Not seeing her run, grace will not give itself in vain, and her life will become unbearable, because idleness produces boredom and bother." August 8th, 1926, Volume 19. The more the soul is identified with God, the more he can give her and she can take. Example of the sea and the little stream. As I was in my usual state, I felt all abandoned in the arms of Jesus. And he, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, the more the soul is identified with me, the more I can give her, and she can take from me." It happens as between the sea and a little stream, which is separated from the sea only by a wall, so much so that if the wall were removed, the sea and the little stream would become one single sea. Now, if the sea overflows, being near it, the little stream receives the water of the sea. If its roaring waves rise, in lowering again, they unload themselves into the nearby little stream. The water of the sea pours into it through the cracks of the wall, so the tiny little stream constantly receives the waters of the sea, and because it is little, it keeps swelling up, and it gives back to the sea the water it has received, to then receive it again. However, this happens because the little stream is near the sea. But if it were far away, neither could the sea give, nor could it receive. Its distance would put it in the condition of not even knowing the sea. While saying this, he showed to my mind, in practice, the act of the sea and of the little stream. And then he continued, "My daughter, the sea is God. The tiny little stream is the soul. The wall that separates them is the human nature, which makes one distinguish God and the creature. The overflowings, the waves which rise continuously to unload themselves into the little stream, are my divine will that wants to give so much to the creature that the little stream, being filled and swelling up, may overflow, may form its waves, swollen by the wind of the supreme will, and may pour back into the divine sea, to be filled again in such a way as to be able to say, 'I live the life of the sea, and even though I am little, I too do what it does. I overflow, I form my waves, I rise, and I try to give to the sea what it gives to me.' So the soul who is identified with me and lets herself be dominated by my will is the repeater of the divine acts. Her love, her adorations, her prayers, and everything she does is the outpouring of God which she receives, so as to be able to say, 'It is your love that loves you, your adorations that adore you, your prayers that pray you. It is your will that, investing me, makes me do what you do, to give it back to you as your own things. Jesus kept silent. But then, as though taken by an irresistible emphasis of love, he added, "O power of my will, how great you are! You alone unite the greatest and highest being with the littlest and lowest being, making them one. You alone have the virtue of emptying the creature of all that does not belong to you, to be able to form in her, with your reflections, that eternal sun which, filling heaven and earth with its rays, goes to blend with the sun of the supreme majesty. You alone have this virtue of communicating the supreme strength in such a way that with your strength the creature can rise to that single act of God, the Creator. Ah, my daughter, when the creature does not live in the unity of my will, she loses the one strength and remains as though disunited from that strength that fills heaven and earth and sustains the whole universe as if it were the littlest feather. Now, when the soul does not let herself be dominated by my will, she loses the one strength in all of her actions. Therefore, all her acts, not coming out of the same single strength, remain divided among themselves. Love is divided, the action separated, the prayer disjointed. Being divided, all the acts of the creature are poor, meager, without light. And so patience is poor, charity is weak, obedience is crippled, humility is blind, prayer is mute, sacrifice is without life, without vigor. Because since my will is missing, the one strength is missing which, uniting everything, gives the same strength to each act of the creature. Therefore they are left not only divided among themselves, but adulterated by the human will, and so each one is left with its own defect. This happened to Adam. By withdrawing from the supreme will, he lost the one single strength of his Creator. And since he was left with his limited human strength, he felt hardship in his operating. More so since the strength that he employed in performing one action would debilitate him, and in having to do another, he would not feel the same strength. So he touched the poverty of his actions with his own hand. Not having the same strength, they were not only divided, but each one had its own defect. It happened as to a rich lord who possesses most extensive properties. As long as they belong to one owner only, he shows off. He makes big purchases. Who knows how many servants he maintains under himself? And with the large proceeds he receives, he keeps making new purchases. But suppose that this property were to be divided among other heirs. That's it. His great power is already lost. He can no longer show off as before, nor make new purchases. He must limit himself in his expenditures, and his servants are few. So his greatness, his lordship, has vanished. What is left are just barely the traces of it. So it happened to Adam. By withdrawing from my will, he lost the one single strength of his Creator, and with it he lost his lordship, his dominion, nor did he feel the strength to show off in good any more. The same happens for one who is not completely abandoned in the arms of my will, because with it, the strength of good converts into one's nature, and poverty does not exist. End of August 8th. Fiat.